Hello and welcome to this demonstration video in which I'm going to show you how to use the stencil and so that we can make some lovely 3D box cards. And the box cards that you make are going to look something like this. It's like a traditional card at the start, and then we pull it and we've got a lovely little scene going on inside. And there's lots we can do with that as well. And again, we'll explore these options as we go through the video. So in order to make some lovely cards like this, we're going to work with our card and template, and I'll run you through how we do that. So just before we start, I'd like to say that I'm using the 160 GSM card for these. You don't have to go any higher than that. That allows everything to move and to crease and to fold, and you've got the strength as well. So 160 is absolutely fine. To let you into a little secret, I actually made these out of paper and they work quite well with that. So this is one of those instances when we're doing some sort of paper engineering and making up that the thinner card is better than the thicker. If you've only got 250 GSM, you can make it with that, but the lines and the folds are a little bit more critical on the thicker papers. Okay, so let's have a look at the template and I'll show you how we use it. Okay, so here's our template, and that's what we're going to use. Now this repeats itself, so it makes half a card, and then we flip it over and we use the other half to complete it. And just to help you on the way, we've got a couple of things which you can just notice here, which are our registration marks, and they'll just help you guide. If you move it and you lose a line, you can use these just to help you realign what you're doing, and you should be able to see the line through the stencil as well. And you'll notice the lines are quite thin on here. This is because we need a reasonable amount of accuracy, and it's intended to use with a pencil. As long as your pencil will fit in there, and that will be absolutely fine, and it will. So a fairly sharp point on your pencil and you'll be absolutely okay. And one other thing to note, at this stage we're going to use all of the lines here but not the tab that we see here. I'll tell you when we use that. That's just sitting in there, but don't draw that out when you do your first drawings out to make the template for the box. Leave that one out. That's going to be done separately on another piece of card at another time, if indeed you want to use this at all. Okay, so let's make a start. With my template, I'm now ready to start putting down my guidelines. Now I've printed edge to edge here, but if you have a printer that doesn't, you'll still be able to make your boxes, because I've designed this to allow for the fact that most or some printers don't print edge to edge, and there'll be enough gap, at least on all the main leading ones that we've tested, so that you're still able to make your boxes. But what I've done is printed onto the lighter paper that I'm going to use, and I've got a darker one on the back here. Now this will actually be the front of the box, so in reality I'd get you to work the other way around, because then all the construction lines can't be seen, but I need you to see them. So because I'm using a pencil, I could lighten them out anyway, but I said for the convenience of you to be able to see what I'm doing, I've made this look like it is. What I'm going to do now is just line my template up, because it will fit on the A4 paper, and there's two little holes. I've got a square one here and a round one here, and I'm just going to draw that in. These are what I call my registration marks, a square and a circle. Now I've got my template with the tab to the left here, and we're not going to use that at this stage, if at all, and I'll come back to that later on when we look at the tabs. But initially now what I've got here is my square and my circle drawn in first of all. I'm quite happy to hold my template down. If you want to attach it, you can. I'm using a bit of what we call Magi tape or library tape. It's something that's low tack because you don't want it to stick down. Now if at any time this template comes off, I can line my lines up, but I can also use my circle and my square here as well. That all said, this is really very forgiving. So with that in position, what I'm going to do is just draw these lines with my pencil like so, and just work my way through the template. These are guidelines for our cutting, so they don't have to be too dark. I'm going to go a little bit darker than I normally would, just so that you can see what we're doing. And it's just a case of remembering where everything is as well. I must confess I have a tendency of losing my way. Now these guidelines are quite narrow. There's plenty of room for a pencil to go through. But the idea is, see, we could be a couple of mil out otherwise, and I do want these to be fairly accurate for you, which is why I've made the lines a little bit closer than they are. There we go. I think I've got everything in shot there on my paper, and what I'm ready to do is lift that up. Now, if you've got your tape on, you can just pull it to one side like so. I haven't missed anything out. If I had, I could have come back with my registration marks. I'm going to carefully lift that up like so. And now we just, well, in theory now we're going to flip it over, because our square and our circle will line up like so. And I can show you here now, because what we want to do is just continue with these lines, and we want it to be square. So my square has lined up there, my circle's lined up there. This is parallel with the top and the bottom of my A4 paper, and everything looks like it's going to go exactly where I want it to. So again, just belt and braces. If you want to, you can pop a little bit of tape down, and now you could actually have it on both sides. In fact, you could have centered this if you wanted to. I just worked to the left there. It's up to you when you're crafting. I'm quite happy to hold this, as it were. So now, again, I'm just going to repeat with my lines all the way through, like so. I'm just going around the edge first of all, and then work from the base to the top, top to bottom, left to right. It's entirely up to you. As I said, I do have a habit of forgetting some of the lines. Remember, we're not bothering with the tab at this stage. I've done those, I've done that, I've done that. These are quite critical, the fold lines, which is why I wanted the actual lines in here not to be too large. I think we're there. Again, I could just gently tease it apart. I think I've got everything in there. And just gently release that, and we are done with the template for the moment. Now I'm looking back here, and I have actually made a mistake. I've made a number of mistakes. I'm going to show you live now. Didn't do it on purpose, but do you know what I've forgotten to do? Oh no, do you know, I thought I had, no, I've got everything in there. I thought I had lines to go here. Ignore that, I've done it right. Okay, but if you were unsure, let me just show you. It's a great opportunity now. If I had forgotten the lines, I could have just lined this up here, square, circle, and you can see it pretty well goes back exactly where it was. That was the line I thought I'd missed out. I haven't. Right, so template aside, I'm now ready just to draw everything in. Now, you can do, pause for breath here. If you want to, you can neaten all the lines up with a ruler. I don't think that's absolutely necessary. If I'm going to cut now and do it, I'm pretty happy that I can see where the lines are. That said, these ones are fairly critical. So what I would like to do is just with my pencil and ruler, just pop in my fold lines here and just make sure that everything touches and I've got it right. So again, I can just come back now, pop these lines in. You can take your time. I think once you've made the first one, to be honest, you'll get a little bit blasé. They're quite simple to make, and you'll realise that, you know what, it's actually quite simple to do. Okay, so I'm going to come back there, and again, just down here, and as much to show you, as again, now I'm making these lines quite dark so that they'll show up on the camera for you. Remember, you don't have to have them dark, they're just there to guide you along. There we go, and just again in there, just lining that all up. And last but not least, just down here as well, and in there, so all these lines are there. I've gone a little bit astray there, but I've done it with the ruler. Again, much darker, you won't have to do that. Now, what we've got to do is cut these out, and you will find on the template you have a cutting guide. Now, I've got a big cutting guide here, and if you go onto the website, you will find that there's one I'm going to put as a download for you that's a little bit bigger, but the one that you've got on the instructions is perfectly adequate, just really for ease of use here. I want to show you this one. So what we've got are basically red lines are cut lines, and the dotted lines and we're going to score and fold. So the first thing to do is cut out, and I'd have if you've got your printed instructions, have those to hand, and with your steel rule, first thing we're going to do is cut out the whole thing here. So I'm going to just pop my ruler down here now and just cut the edge through. I'm using a craft knife, you could use scissors. At this stage you could quite happily work with a trimmer, paper trimmer, just to get our basic edge sorted out. And again, I can just come down here. So nothing fancy, just straight cuts. I'll come back and do that one. I'll just pop that one over there. So I'm using a steel rule and a craft knife at this stage. So however you want to cut. Because we're doing straight lines, I must say I do find it a little bit easier working with a craft knife. Okay, now not quite square there. Just come back. I think it was probably my drawing, a little bit wobbly on the line. Okay, so that's the basic outline sorted now. So back to my guide here. This is out of camera shot view, so my first red lines were there. Now we're going to cut this out and we're going to create a shape that you'll see. This line, not to confuse you, if you want to, I've made my box so it has a little triangle, and we actually cut all of this out, but because we had it in the templates, it was great as a guideline there. I've kept it in. Let me just cut and I'll show you exactly what happens. So I'm putting that to one side, and what you're going to do now is just cut this out. So I'm going to start from here. So I go to there, that was a red line, and that's a cut line there as well. So I end up, if I've done it properly, there we go, with that shape coming out from there, and that's the bit that's going to glue onto the box. So I'm going to go ahead now and just do the same with all of these. So just cut that line down to there. If it helps you, you could use your cutting line and use coloured pencils and use a red one to do all the lines with that are cut lines, and then use a different colour, black one, blue one, just to do all the fold lines as well. But if you refer back to the cutting plan, and now if you watch the video here, I think it'll make it quite straightforward and easy for you. So we're just, whoops, I'm straying a bit there because I can't see on the camera. That's not a problem. This is a cut tab. So again, I don't have to worry about that. It's not a problem to me. Forgive me, I'm kind of cutting, trying to get it so you can see it on camera. I don't cut my fingers off, and I can see where I'm going at the same time. So there we go. That's our basic pattern here now. And the next stage is everything that's left is a score line. So I would use a scoring tool at this stage. I'm going to reach across for one of mine, and using the smaller ball here, just run along and score everything up. Now we've got everything cut out, and at this stage you are ready, if you want to put the photo in at this point. But I'm going to fold everything up first, because sometimes with your creases, if you're not accurate, you find this might need a little bit of a trim. So let's pop an image to one side, and of course the image can be anything you want. Now with the folding, as I said, you could do this on the back so these lines wouldn't be seen, but so that we can see what we're doing, this is why I'm doing it this way. The choice is yours. And of course with a pencil now you could rub lines out afterwards as well. What I'm doing here is just folding my crease lines. This is just something which I do. It's just a personal thing really. Just I find it easier to rest the ruler and then line that up with the crease and then just pull the paper up. That gives, I think, a little bit more ease of use. And again, just going to here, I can do that for there. I can come back now and then just put a much tighter crease in. These are a little bit tricky. They're just your corners there, but again, just popping the ruler in, running alongside, you can see it just makes a little bit more accuracy with your fold. Now because we are putting crease lines in, sometimes we stray off with them. I'm roping everyone in. I find sometimes I go off a little bit because I can't really quite see where the ball end is touching the paper, but this is nice and forgiving, so don't worry. Okay, so there we go. Those are all my crease lines. The next thing to do is just go back through and neaten up all of the creases. And I'll do that in a minute, but I'll go on and do that just so that you know the technique that I've used. And as I said, at this stage, if I just crease there and there, and although I haven't made the box up, I can just pop my image in and see, I think it needs just a little bit of a trim off there. So when it goes in, it's happier in there. It's better that way than not. So I'll just line that up there. You can see what I'm doing here. In fact, I can see a little bit of a white line there anyway, so I hadn't quite cut it. But this is just a little bit of fine tuning back to here and just making sure that's sitting in there happily. It's okay top and bottom, that's fine. And do you know what? I think it needs just to slither off again, so a little bit more. Because what we don't want to do is, sorry, just move that out of the way. There's less where you trim from, and we are just talking very, very small amounts. You can see I'm just taking shavings off here. Let me just get that on there. Just pop my ruler on. All I'm going to do is just take again, and in fact, get that a little bit easier. No, that way. And just take another slither off from there. This is a case where it's better that it's too small than too big, so that when we put the box together, we know that, see, that's lovely. That closes nicely. I'm happy with everything there now. That's all doing what it should do. At this point, we could pop the image in and glue it in, because then it's in position. But I just want to leave that out the side, because so it's easier just to see what we're doing here, putting the box together. Now comes the gluing. Now, I would recommend a good quality wet glue for this. Okay, everything's now cut out, and I've done my crease lines. Now, these boxes are going to fold like that. This is the cover, so you can just check that you're happy with all your crease lines at the front here. You'll find if the more we have underneath, they'll just rise a little bit anyway, but that just stops anyone seeing any surprises underneath. And if you're accurate, you should be okay. So all my lines are now done and in position. And the next thing to do is to start gluing. So glues, let's talk a little bit about glue. I often use a tape pen, very renowned for that. On this, you really do want a good quality wet glue. So when it comes to glues, I do favour a good quality wet glue for this. There's lots of different types on the market. I've got the 3-in-1 here, and I've got the Cosmic Shimmer. They both do a pretty good job. I've got the lid off of this one, so I'm going to use my one here. And the first thing I'm going to do is just glue this panel here. Let me pop some glue on there for you. And that's that panel there. So we're doing these little edges here. It's not very pretty, that one, but you'll see that once that's glued, that it's not a problem. And so glue onto there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could go ahead and glue, but I'm going to just do this one at a time. So I find this the easiest way to put this together is I fold this now right the way over, like so, and I'm just going to pull this one down like so, and it'll just rest into position there, like that. Let me just do the lower one while we're on this side. There we go. Okay, so we do this side. I'm going to bring this edge down to the base here, like so. And stick that on in a few seconds there. And then this folds back out of the way. And now we can pull this edge over. And now, again, I'll put the glue on ahead. That glues like so. And just down to this corner here. And a little bit of glue on there, and bring that over. And again, I can just, you know, I made that cut line mistake, just hold that in. Give those a few seconds to dry. I'm going to hold that down like so. Okay, and that will just need a couple of minutes to dry. Don't rush this stage because you don't want it all coming to bits. So that's our box shape now, and what we need to do is we pull it, you can see it's the wrong way round. So what I've got to do is just push it in and then refold these lines here. So that goes into there and they fold back the other way. So when it comes to creasing your box, it's a good idea to put a double line on this because it will make life easier for you. The hardest thing is just getting that little corner right down there. So let me just show you what I'm doing here. You can push it in and just gently guide it, and you'll see that it's forming the shape there, and nice and gently, and that puts the edge in there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same over on this side. So those lines up there, I could do, as I said, with a nice little bit of extra fold. It's just, if I can just hold it up to the camera here for you, it's just getting those corners to go in at the base there. So if you just gently tease it in and make sure that it's going where you want it to go, you'll be absolutely fine. So again, I've just pushed that in with my finger there, push it down there, and those score lines, just drag it in. And then we can fold and crease it. Now, this is one of the reasons that you can or can't. You can have your base image in. You wouldn't want any decoupage in at this stage, but because I'm creasing and folding, I tend to. It's just a matter of choice at what point you put that in. But for this point here now, what I want to show you is we've got our box card. We pull it, and we get this lovely shape coming up. Darker paper for the back, and you can see now my construction lines have all but disappeared. I would have gone in with a ruler, but as I said, they're a little bit darker for you to see, but all the folds and creases are fine. So at this point, we're ready to go and put the cards together. And I can now use my base image, and that can just, with a bit of glue on the back, sit in there, and I can build that up if I need to now. And I can then work on, and I'll show you how the tab works. But just before I pop that one in, if you're going to do what I call like the stackopage, if I can just bring that into shot here for you, these are my other images here. I'll cut those out, and I would build this all up first and then just pop it into the box after I've made it, because with all the folding and the squeezing, we'd be squashing the image in there anyway. But let's come back and I'll cut that all out and I'll put that together and pop it in the box. And again, just to show you how simple that is, remember these creases, because we've done it in reverse. Now, if you find that difficult, you can also glue it a different way then. You can start folding this in and then pulling that tab out if you want to. If you find that method of gluing a little bit tricky for you. As I said, it's not a bad thing before you put this box together, just to make sure that there's a really nice crease on these lines here, on those lines, because they're the ones that need to really be accurately scored to just give you that lovely, nice, straightforward, simple fold. Okay, so that's how we make the box. And of course, this is a Christmas one, but you could have anything in here. And I'm going to go on now and we'll do the topper and the filling, and I'll show you how we do all the rest of it. Now you can as well, if you want to, just add these sort of dangly elements to your boxes as well. You could actually have just loads of hanging elements. That's just, again, a sort of serving suggestion to show you another way of using the box. What I want to do now is just pop the tab in here and show you how we do the tab. Now, we mentioned about the tab earlier, and you can use that to just create another image within the card just coming forward. It's a bit like a decoupage element, but in this instance it folds with the card. So what I'm going to do is just draw around here. Now, the tab's an optional element, and I've got to be truthful and say sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends what you're using it with. But we want a nice thin card. Now, I've got 160, but really even 120 GSM would be fine. So I've done the outline, and I've done these two lines here. Those are the fold lines. That's going to be a tab that we glue. And if you're using just one layer, then just draw in the first two lines here, we're going to produce what I call a Z fold, and then if you did a second layer, we would then draw these two lines in, and you'd miss out the middle line, and then you'd do a Z fold from there. So if I do just the first one, that will hopefully make sense of everything that we're doing. Pull that away, and we can see our image there. So the next thing to do really is just to come along now and cut this out like so. Again, I'm using my craft knife, but you can use scissors if you want. It really is up to you. And we'll end up now with our tab looking like that. So the next thing to do is actually score these two lines. So a score line there, come back over here and here. You'll notice I didn't bother, just to draw in the extra lines. I'm just working with those. So the first one I've got now is I fold that like so, and then this one back like so there. And I'll just pop that down on the desk. You'll see what we've got now is our strap there. And so the next line here just folds in like so. You see it creates a Z shape. So I just pop that one there like so. Squeeze it down. And again, I've got one going in there. I've done that the wrong way. Let me just, actually it doesn't matter because it makes an easier fold. Just squeeze that one to there like so. That one there like that. And that's how it should be looking. A bit like a banner, back to front banner. And what that's going to do is when we put the tabs in like this, it's probably easier to show you here. As the card folds, that allows a little bit of room to allow it to fold flat. So we've got to have those in there. And it's important to make sure that they fit, and we've got those little lines there. So what we're going to do is go back to our box now. Okay, so we're now ready for gluing. In that first tab, our 10mm tab, I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on, and that will just go like so. And then that's going to form an L shape here, like that, and just touch the base of the card down here. And you can see what we've got our zigzag there. Now, importantly, I'm going to go on and do the other part here, and then I'm going to show you what we've also got to allow for a hole in the box. And I'm going to deconstruct this and show you because it won't close properly otherwise. So let me put some glue on here. So it's bringing a little bit back to front on this one. So again, see the glue there. Just going to pop the tab down, pop it in there. Oh, the other one's come off, not to worry. It's probably easier. So I'm trying to do it on the camera for you to see, but I'm going to just pop this down on the base like so. As I said, these can be a bit tricky. I wasn't kidding. But it's just something you might want to play around with. You should let the glue dry. I'm racing ahead a little bit here. So let me just show you. I'm just sticking that down here, one into there and one over here like so, and that really does need to glue nice and firm, and you'll always get a little bit of a zigzag. We'll have to push this down. But before we do that, let me just show you the base of the box, because we've got to allow a cut in here. Now if you remember with the instructions, I told you that we could make the box up and then cut here and then cut a line. We need to allow a little bit of space. This allows the folds to come down here and not touch and hit that card. So what we do is we cut a slither out about 5mm. Now you can, if you're clever, you can put the box together and do it that way, or you can do it before you've made the box. In this instance, I'm just, forgive me, I'm going to rip it to bits here, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come back down now, just pull that off there and show you what we should have done. Or another way of doing it. In fact, this hasn't quite stuck, and it's stuck on one side there. And again, if you are going to do this, it's probably easier to then stick at least one side on before you put the box together. So that's worth noting. Now back to the template, and you'll have noticed there were two little holes. Those are the guidelines for the length, but I would just almost do it by eye. Now what I would suggest we do is just cut off. This is going to seem quite radical now, but you'll see it's on the written instructions, but this might clarify. I'm going to literally cut this away now. Okay, pop that to one side, and because we've only got one layer, I'm going to come in about 5mm or so. What we're trying to do is have enough space to allow it just to close, but not so that you see the gap in the box. And this is a little bit trial and error because some of them come in more than others. So we've now chopped that off, that's departed from the box, and you're probably thinking, what have I done? And what we're going to do is just glue this back onto the box now. Again, if you look at the instructions that come with the template, you'll see that you can, if you're going to do this technique, go for it at the start. I've started on the box here. So what I'm going to do is just realign this back with my corner fold there, and just pop that on with my glue, and just in the real world give it a little bit more time, and then again just glue this one here. I think the technique on the instructions is probably better to go with. And again, if I just show you here, just put that onto the side. That's going to glue fairly quickly, but importantly you can see underneath now, see that's the gap that we've created in the box. So while that's all gluing there, I'm going to come back here, and this side, which was being a bit pesky for me, glue the 10mm tab. Again, that just drops down to the base of the box there and just touches, so it's quite hard to show, but let me just point that out to you. That's just touching there. And the next one, if you did the second one, would just come up here 10mm, touching that corner, and go across and come down. It's never going to be perfect, this strap, and you'll see here, I mean, it's trial and error. So it's just the width of the box decreases a little bit, but this has got to fold inwards. It's kind of sticking out the wrong way. I'm not going to fiddle with that yet. I'm just going to let that dry, and then we can do it. So I'm going to put that to one side and just talk about the image that we're going to stick on here. Okay, I popped my tab in here. It could have gone down a little bit lower, to be honest, but that doesn't really matter. And you can see with the fold line here, that's just going to allow it to, as I close the box, can you see what's happening? So it's quite tricky, but it's folding that little tab in there. Then this goes flat. So let's just pop that in the middle. When we open it up, it pulls that tab and it floats up a little bit like so. So then we can put an image on. Now, a couple of things, and I do apologise, this could probably be doing a little bit lower, but it was hard to see with the camera and everything. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I had a little bit of tricky seeing that. But it's not the end of the world, because the next thing to do is to stick something on it. Now, I'm going to cheat. This is actually off the CD, but you can put anything on these tabs. And this will just obviously fit down onto there. Now, I could actually put that a little bit lower, and obviously this is too wide. I've just popped this in to show you the tab, so I could cut that, recut it, and then put that on there. But before I do that and fiddle with it, and that's what I'm going to do, and let me just show you. Basically, I'm going to mark out here and just say, well, I need to just swing around something like that. Now, you will need to pre-prepare your tabs and everything before you put it on. Think of the object that you're sticking in there and how much room it's going to take up. In reality, just keep something that's not too big, and you'll be fine. But that's what I need to go back and sort that out here. But before I do that, one more important thing. You could use your template if you want to. I'm going to come back over with the template, and that line there and that line there come right to the end. I have to put another little score line in here to score that and there. If I move that out of the way, and to allow, again, if this image is going to cover the whole of that tab, whoops, and I've done that on photo paper and I've gone way too heavy-handed on that. So put a tab in there. You have to kind of create another Z fold in here. You can see why I said the tabs are, do you know what? They are, if you get it all working right, they're fab. But if not, they can be a right royal pain. And you can see what I've got here. I've put that tab in, and that's got to come back the other way then, because it's going to fold up. So use thin paper if you can. I've got quite thick photo paper here. You want it thinner. And then that will just stick over there. So the next thing for me to do is literally cut this out, which I'm going to go ahead now and carefully cut that out and then stick this on. And that's how basically the tabs work if you want to go down that route. So we'll come back to this in just a minute. Okay, you can see my tab now. I've cut those extra elements out and that's just sitting here like so. So the next thing to do is to put my image on top like so. And then that will need a little bit of sort of jiggery pokery. I've come up a little bit high here. I said that was my fault with the gluing. But you can see how the lines work there. And I'm just going to slot the image back in behind just so you can see. That was just to hopefully make it a bit clearer. And then we'll fold that all up. There we go, like so. That should be lining up with my image, as we can see there now. And then the box will open and close, and that just gives, if I just tilt it, a little bit of decoupage there. And then the box should fold like so, and then open up. And as it opens, it just pulls that layer up. Okay, so as we open it up, you can see now that we've got almost a decoupage element to it there, that it fits quite nicely, and you've got this lovely additional element to your card. Now, when it works well, as you can see, it does look very nice. Now, I've really done this a little bit too high up, a little bit lower, and then that would have been covering the paper here, and you wouldn't see the cut line below there. So again, you'll be able to take a little bit more care when you do it. It's one of those techniques, if you like it, it can work quite well. And it just, as I said, adds that extra dimension to your card. If you wanted to put the next layer on, everything would just touch. The 10mm tabs would touch from there as well. Just remember when you're doing these boxes that we've got to allow the folds to actually fold. And it's these creases here that give us the problem, which is why this, to be honest, is quite complicated with these like little Z folds and everything, just to allow the box to actually come down and not touch too much there and then hit on that part. So it's one of those techniques, if you want to, give it a go. If not, I'd go back to something like traditional stackopage or a decoupage. If you can keep everything in the middle, what we're trying to avoid is anything coming too close. Those are the fold lines here that really are quite powerful, and they'll have problems if there's anything too close to it. So as that corner you can see folding down like so. But if you keep everything nice and tight, as it were, you'll be okay. Right, so that folds there. Last but not least, what can we do? Well, we've got the front of the card as well. Now, we've still got the whole of the front area here to play around with. And again, you can sort of mat and layer. There's a whole host of things you could do with it. I'm just popping a couple of panels down here. So you can really think of the front part as a complete card in its own right. That just sort of, the surprise is the box underneath. And again, I can just play around with this. I'm going to put some, we've got some lovely dies, all occasion dies. And I'm going to put Happy Christmas, I think, on here. And just pop those down the bottom there. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on those. So as I've said, I'm going to decorate this. I'm going to use my dies, all occasions, a plug for them there. This is the Happy Christmas. I'm going to pop that in green, just mirroring what we've got going on with the Christmas tree and everything. There we go. and I could decorate further, a bit of glitter, etc. But I think that looks rather nice, and that'll then hide the card here. And I think the other thing to do is just pop a ribbon over it, can look rather nice as well, and that just holds it together, so that when they pull the ribbon off, you've then got the card. You can probably tell that there's something going to happen underneath there. And we can open up the card, and there we go. We've got a nice front cover, and we open it up, and you can see now that we've got that surprise of the box card on the inside. That can just stand on the shelf like so, and it looks really nice. It's a different sort of card. You've got the back as well. As I said, I've just got the paper on here, but you could put anything on it that you like. If you wanted to decorate or put a greetings message on the back there, you could sign something on and put something on the back panel. The nice thing about this is you can play around with them and just, as I said, make them a little bit more bespoke, how you want to. And last but not least, I don't know if I can squeeze this one on, but I think a little bit of ribbon over the card just to keep it closed looks quite nice. It just sort of adds to it, and then that can just add to the surprise as well. You can put that on, and a little bit of theatre, so you've got a lovely card, very posh looking card with a nice bit of ribbon. Pull that off, and then, as we said, we've got a lovely greetings inside as well. And there we go. That's how we do the box cards. As I said, if you're going to do this layer with the tabs, remember it's probably better to cut it before you make the box. The other alternative is to make the box, and if you're feeling quite skilled, you could use your craft knife, and I've done this before, and just cut along in here while it was made up. But I think in reality you're probably better cutting that whole panel off and then dropping it down. Again, those instructions, you'll see it on the written instructions. I'm just hoping that the video one here will reiterate what we've got. And there you go. That will give you, as I said, a lovely card. Looks a little bit different and look very nice on the mantelpiece. So I think we've covered all the bases there. It's really up to you. Use the template. I've used elements of the 3D Christmas box CD-ROM, but you can use anything to make these. Remember, anything can go in there, and that's the beauty of it. With the template, you've now got so much versatility. In fact, I'll just show you another card that I've prepared here. I've got a little bit of glue stuck to my butterfly wings there, and again a little bit of ribbon just to hold it down. So I'm going to pull that off for you and just show you inside. So we've got happy 50 today, lots of butterflies, nice and 3D on the top, and then we open it up and we get this lovely image inside as well. You can see that's quite 3D, but because that's away from these crease lines down the far corner, it doesn't, stop it working too badly at all. And so we can open that up, and that looks absolutely lovely. So we've got lots of scope to really make any sort of card that you want to with this. Put anything that you want in the box. It's just, from folding flat for the postage, you can then create something wonderful here. If you've got the CD, there's an envelope on there. If not, on this you'll see a little folder, and I'm going to pop a free envelope template for you as well on the instruction page here, a little PDF, so that you can just print out and create an envelope that will fit these cards perfectly. It even allows for a little bit of 3D on there as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial video, and it's given you the confidence to go on and make the 3D box cards on your own. As you can see, it really is very, very simple. And only a few things, just a couple of points to remind you. We keep the image area, as I say, the decoupage in the middle. The stackupage works well, because again, that just keeps everything away from the creases. It just enables the cards to fold flat. Working with a template, you've got loads and loads of versatility. You can use any backing papers that you want. You're not just limited to any one thing. And I always think it's worth exploring the bits that hang as well, and we could combine those. The tab that runs along the front is an interesting one, but it is a little bit tricky. And I think it's your call as the crafter whether or not you want to use it. I've put it in there, but I do appreciate that it is a little bit tricky to use. Sometimes it adds something to the card, sometimes it doesn't. So if you never want to use it, don't worry. But it's there if you need it. But That aside, the rest of it will work absolutely beautifully for you. They are very, very simple to make, and I think they look quite special as well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, as I've said, and that you're now happy enough to go on and start making some 3D box cards of your own. Okie dokie, enjoy your crafting. Bye-bye.